The question we have today is a long-ish, juicy, contextual one. How do you regain trust in yourself after a bad business decision? I recently invested 3K on a one-to-one podcast tour service I have yet to receive the deliverables for. It's been a month. Their T&Cs are ironclad, so no refund is possible. That was the first profit I made after paying off the debts I went into in 2024 to afford living expenses after my business went bankrupt. I was severely undercharging and therefore subsidizing my clients' businesses without realizing it. I figured I couldn't trust myself to run my business properly, so I made the first and most expensive investment of my life to save my business. Is it my fault for outsourcing trust to someone who seemed more expert to help me rebuild momentum for my business? I put all my hopes and dreams in that investment, and it makes me tear up to realize I made a very bad decision. Now I'm penniless again with no podcast tour in sight, nor trust in myself to rebuild my business anymore. Oh, my first response to that is such an awful experience. And for this person, I'm just so sorry that this is the situation that you're in. Amy, where should we kick this off?
Yeah, so I have yet to receive the deliverable, and it's been a month. And their T&Cs, this is a separate issue, but I'm just wondering, like, are we expecting that the deliverable will arrive and that it's delayed? And like, what is ironclad? What could be so ironclad that if you don't deliver what somebody bought from you, that there's no recourse? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but that's my first thought is like, what's the recourse? But let's deal with the other bigger issue, which is, how do you regain trust in yourself? And it's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one because but I think it's sort of part of building a business. I don't think, I know it is. We all make decisions we regret. We all spend money that we wish we hadn't. And it can be very hard to let go of that. There's something about a financial decision that has sort of an impact that other decisions don't, where you can really lose trust in yourself and lose trust in your own ability and your confidence to do the thing that you've set out to do. So first of all, like take comfort in the fact that it's universal and that your best outcome is to learn from it and to be more prudent, which sounds really cliche and not at all helpful, but it's actually true. And it's not like let's slap yourself on the wrist and learn to make better decisions, because it wasn't necessarily a bad decision, right? And it's not on you that these people aren't delivering what they said they would. And I think, unfortunately, that's often what what we end up calling a bad decision, business decision ends up being, right? Is someone who doesn't deliver what they promised.
I mean, I think we're pretty much on the same page. I think, the thing that I would say here is that in terms of how do you regain trust in yourself after a bad business decision, I mean, I think unfortunately the reality, and like you said, Amy, it is universal, right? Every business owner has been through an experience where they're like, oh shit, that was the wrong decision. And I think the process of regaining trust in yourself is actually about investigating what went wrong there so that you're growing your knowledge, your gut, your expertise, so that by doing the thing, you're actually rebuilding that trust in yourself, right? There's no magic answer here. It's just a process of accepting the fact that you're not always going to make the right decision, right? None of us are, no one has a clear run where they've only done the right thing every single time. But it's more a question, I think, about what do you do when you're in a situation like this, right? And like Amy said, it's not your fault, right? You've invested in something and it sounds like that investment hasn't actually been returned in terms of they haven't delivered what they promised they would. So I think on one hand, it's about relinquishing any, feeling of fault from that, because really what happened is it sounds like you got tricked. But also at the same time, taking the time to sit with that and allow yourself to feel it so that you can process it and get some information which you can leverage next time you're ready to make an investment. So I don't know if that really addresses all of it, but I think that's my response to, the question here around self-trust. Like there's no magic answer. You just need to be open to the process of being wrong and learning through that. It's a really good way to learn.
Yeah, it is. And that's always a hard pill to swallow, I think. And I don't think this is helpful necessarily in this context, but I'm going to say it anyway. I mean, I think sometimes too, you make a decision, and even when the thing is delivered, it ends up not being the best thing. Right. And I don't mean that the quality of work isn't good, but like you think something is going to be a panacea and it isn't, right? This is going to solve the problem and it doesn't. And, it's easy to second guess yourself and to doubt yourself. But I think to some extent, business and probably life is a series of those tests, whether you're applying money or your heart or, whatever it is, you do these things and you were wrong or you get hurt and you figure out like how do I do that better next time? How do I avoid this? Or what is the pain here that I want to avoid? And so, the other piece of this that I sort of like thump in the chest for me is I put all my hopes and dreams in that investment and now I've made a bad decision and I'm penniless. It sounds in looking at the question that like maybe there were a series of things that happened and there was some debt and you got out of debt and now you had profit and you applied it and it didn't work. And I can imagine just feeling like just awful, right? Just like when is this going to turn right for me? And I think, and I can say this having been in business a long time and having had a lot of disappointments and having made money and having lost a lot of money and made a lot of bad decisions, I think what you have to find in yourself somewhere is where's your determination, right? Like what's the reason you're doing this? And is that big enough to drive you forward? And if it is, like, how can you innovate? What's the thing that you can do that doesn't cost money or doesn't cost you much money that you can, use your skill and your talent to get back into profit and make money and know that, next time you'll be, you may be more cautious, you may be wary, you may make a bad decision again, but you'll probably make more good ones than you do bad. But I think this is the time, and business really, boy, like if anything really tries this on for you. It's the time where you have to say, like, what am I made of? What stuff am I made of? And what am I determined to do here? And why am I doing this? And there's lots of reasons that people get into business, right? It's usually for some kind of freedom, time freedom, money freedom, but both of those things. And so when you think of the alternative, like, and it's something that you want to do, it's like, well, what drives you and how do you win business without spending money so that you can make some money and get in a more net positive financial situation?
Yeah, I think what you're talking about there, Amy, is probably the really uncomfortable truth of all of this, which is that you can't outsource the process of building up your trust in yourself, right, and your decisions. And in saying that, I can absolutely appreciate why this person and why so many of us, we're in a shitty situation and we think, well, I just need someone else to fix it for me. Of course, that's a natural human response, right? Because that's such a safer, in inverted commas, play, right? Well, someone else can fix this for me. That means I don't have to do the hard work of, sitting with myself and what I know and what I think and what I want and building things up from what probably feels like now quite a wobbly center. And I know, like, this is not going to, I can tell it's not an episode where people are going to walk away and be like, cool, I have the answer to this conundrum, because the answer is messy, right? It's a process. And I think it can be quite a confronting run. And I think if we all, came into business with really robust senses of self-trust, it would be such a different game for all of us. So just to say that it's a process, it's a tough one, it's a bumpy one. So yeah, I don't know that I have much else to offer without being able to sit down with this person and dive into what's actually happening for them at the moment internally, right? Because I think we're seeing the external part of the equation. We're not necessarily getting insight into what's happening inside of this person, what narratives are coming into play for them here, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
This is usually the point. It was the advice columnist says, you need to, like, it might be helpful to talk to someone. I mean, to talk to, I mean, we're not here to like say, go talk to a therapist, but like, on the other hand, like there might be some stuff to unpack here. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a therapist, but, about what's going on. And I mean, I've had this feeling before. I mean, I have, and I'm still standing, but I mean, I've like, why did I spend money on that thing? And why did I think that was a good idea? And like, what did I expect to get out of that? And then I've gone and done it again. And I've made great decisions too, and things that have really paid off. But there's like so much of that in the learning process. And I'm just going to address the thing here. Trust myself. So I made this most expensive business to save my business. I think the thing that will save your business is getting more work. And I suspect, or like more clients, right? More projects. And I suspect that's what this was meant to do. So we will put a link in the show notes of something that I have that I think might help you that, costs less than a sandwich. You gotta like puzzle your own way out of it, but there's some step-by-step directions there. So if that's, if it's like, I just want something to hold on to that actually works, we've got a little bit of a lifeline there. But I think just we'll sum this up. And Kirsty, I think you said it best. I mean, I think you just have to take a hard look. Do you still have the Mirror Journal?
I do actually, yeah, that's true. I also have a product, costs about two and a
Yeah.
half sandwiches, but yeah, it could be something that's also really helpful here to just do the therapy without engaging with a therapist, because I'm just looking here as well, and I feel like there may be a pattern here about some deeper stuff around perhaps self-worth. Big call, I know, but I'm just looking at the fact that in the first iteration of your business, you were chronically undercharging your clients because it sounds as though you went bankrupt, essentially, as you say here, subsidizing your clients' businesses without realizing it. And I wonder if this could be self-worth, could be part of the common thread that is sitting underneath that decision for your first business, and also the decision here in getting someone else to do the work of positioning you as someone worth interviewing on podcasts. But yeah, I do still have the Mirror Journal to answer your question, Amy. I'm sorry, I do feel like I just want to talk to this person and be like, let us inside of what's happening for you internally that is driving these external decisions that are undercutting not just your self-trust, but also your self-worth and your business. So any final thoughts to
Yeah.
add, Amy? Because I feel like I'm circling this without being able to get into the meat of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, and I think that's the nature of what we're doing here because, we only have these, the superficial bits here. But, I mean, as a note to this person, if you do listen to this episode, yeah, circle back with us. And maybe we can dig a little deeper. And I mentioned Kirsty's Mirror Journal because it's a self-reflection tool. And it's a really good one for just, sitting with yourself and thinking through some of these things because and I guess I'll just end on this. I think as awful as some of this shit is, it is how we grow and learn. I mean, it's how you grow as a person. Business aside, I think it's how you grow as a person and like what else is there really, right? I mean, we're going to go through life. We want to, get better and get better at what we do and, ideally be better humans. We sometimes say that like, that like say jokingly, like business is the best like self-development course you'll ever be paid to take. But it is, it's very in your face. It just is. So like, it may be that you're just like exactly where you're supposed to be and that it may not feel great right now, but you won't stay there forever. I mean, you can't, it's sort of the nature of it's the nature of cruising through life. So anyway, I hope this was some helpful for you and for anyone listening. I hope we're not, it's not our sort of not our usual fare, but it is like it is surrounding sort of what we both believe in and how we move in the world. So I shall leave you with that and turn it back to you, my reliable P dog.
Yes. So yeah, and I think we'll put the links in the show notes to both Amy's product and also which is called what, by the way, Amy?
Booked by email. It's a way to pitch clients that's just very there's just no cost involved and it works. It's worked for everyone I've taught it to. So it's a way to get back up on your feet.
Amazing. So I think for practical help, definitely look to that one. If you're looking for a way to really tune into what's happening for you and use this information in this scenario as like fuel for your future self, the Mirror Journal is probably a good option for that. And there's a section there specifically on failure and mistakes. But with that, let me wrap up. If you have any other questions, if you're this person who's asked this question and you're like, I have so much more context to give you, please do. But also if you're someone else listening and this has sparked another question that you'd like us to answer or sit with or, unpack as messily as we have here, head on over to businessbadass.co and you will find the question submission form waiting for you there.
Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.